Have you ever wondered why you can't remember a single moment of the first years of your life? You were there. You were feeling things, learning things, experiencing things. But it's just gone. And here's what makes this even stranger. Those forgotten years didn't disappear. They became the foundation of everything you are today. Your fears, your patterns, the way you love, and the way you protect yourself. By the end of this video, you'll finally understand why. Think about everything that happened to you before the age of 3. You learned to walk. You learned to recognize faces. You learned that certain people made you feel safe, and certain situations didn't. You experienced joy, fear, comfort, and confusion, often in the same afternoon. You were fully alive, fully feeling, fully present, and you remember none of it. Not a single continuous moment. Not a real conversation. Not a face looking down at you. Not the sound of a voice that held you every night. Just absence. And here's what's strange about that. Most people never stop to question it. They just accept it as one of those things. I was too young to remember, and then they move on. But developmental psychologists didn't move on. They kept asking why. And what they discovered is one of the most fascinating and personally relevant findings in all of human psychology. Scientists call it infantile amnesia, and it's not what most people think it is. Infantile amnesia doesn't mean your memory was broken as a baby. It doesn't mean something went wrong. It doesn't mean those years were somehow less real than the ones you can remember. And it doesn't mean the experiences didn't affect you. It means something far more specific than that. It means that the human brain, in its earliest years, simply does not yet have the architecture to store conscious, retrievable memories. The kind you can actually go back to. The kind that feel like yours. Most adults have no reliable memories before age 3. Some people have a handful of fragments before age 4 or 5. A flash of color, a feeling, a single image with no context around it. But a real, continuous narrative? Almost nobody. And this is not unique to you. It is not unique to your culture, your country, or your generation. It is universal. Every human being who has ever lived went through this same quiet erasure, which means the question isn't whether it happened. The question is, why? And there are 3 reasons, each one deeper than the last. Reason 1. Your brain wasn't built yet. The first reason is biological, and once you understand it, everything else starts to make sense. There is a structure deep inside your brain called the hippocampus. Think of it as the brain's filing system. Every time something happens to you, a conversation, an experience, a moment that matters, the hippocampus is responsible for taking that experience and converting it into a long-term memory. Something you can actually store, something you can actually retrieve. Without it working properly, experiences happen, but they don't get filed. And here's the critical part. In babies, the hippocampus is not fully developed. It's still being built, still growing, still developing the neural connections it needs to do its job properly. So think about what that actually means. Every moment of your early childhood, every laugh, every cry, every time someone held you, every time you felt afraid or safe or loved, your brain was receiving all of it, processing all of it, responding to all of it. But it didn't have the equipment yet to store it. It's like trying to take a photograph with a camera that has no film inside. The light enters, the image forms, but nothing gets captured, nothing gets saved. The experience was real, the feeling was real, the moment happened, but the filing system wasn't ready yet. And this is why the earliest years of your life feel like they belong to someone else. Not because you weren't there, but because the part of your brain responsible for saving what happened was still, quietly, being built. The hardware wasn't finished yet. Reason 2, you didn't have language yet. The second reason goes even deeper than biology, and it's something most people never consider. Think about how you remember things now. When something significant happens to you, a conversation, an argument, a moment that stays with you, what does your brain actually do with it? It turns it into a story. That was the day everything changed. That was the moment I realized. That was the conversation where she said the thing I'll never forget. You narrate your experiences, automatically, without even trying. And that narration, that internal story you tell yourself about what just happened, is a huge part of how memories get formed and stored. Language doesn't just help you describe memories. Language helps you create them. And babies don't have language yet. They have sensations, impressions, emotional responses. They have the raw feeling of an experience, the warmth, the fear, the comfort, the confusion. But they have no words to wrap around it, no narrative to give it shape, no internal story that says, this happened, and then this happened, and this is what it meant. Without language, the experience exists in the moment, fully and completely, but it has no container to live in afterward. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The water is real, you can feel it, but without something to pour it into, it slips through, and it's gone. This is why some of your earliest surviving memories, if you have any, often feel more like feelings than actual scenes, more like impressions than events, because impressions were all your brain had the language to hold. The story hadn't started yet. Reason 3. Your sense of self didn't exist yet. The third reason is the deepest one, and it's the one that tends to stop people completely when they hear it. Think about what it actually means to remember something. Not just to have experienced it, but to remember it. To be able to go back to it. To say, that happened to me. I was there. I felt that. For that to be possible, there has to be a me. There has to be a self that the experience happened to. A continuous, recognizable identity that was present in that moment, and is still present now, looking back at it across time. And here is what developmental psychology discovered. Babies don't have that yet. The sense of self, the stable, continuous awareness of being a separate individual with your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own identity, doesn't fully develop until somewhere between 18 months and 2 years old. Before that point, there is experience, there is feeling, there is response. But there is no owner of that experience yet, no narrator, no continuous thread of identity that connects the baby in that moment to the person you eventually became. Which means, even if the hippocampus had been fully developed, even if language had been available, there was still no you yet to attach the memory to. The memory had no address to be delivered to. And this is what makes infantile amnesia so philosophically strange. You weren't absent from those years. You were fully present, fully experiencing. But the version of you that could look back and say, I remember that, didn't exist yet. It was still becoming. Here's where everything changes, because everything we've covered so far might make it sound like those early years are simply gone, lost, inaccessible, like they happened to someone else entirely and left no trace in who you are today. But that's not what psychology actually says, and this is the part most people never hear. There are two kinds of memory. The first kind is the one we've been talking about, explicit memory, conscious, retrievable memory, the kind you can actually go back to, the kind that feels like yours, the kind that says, I remember that moment. That kind, yes, it's largely gone from your earliest years. But the second kind is different. It's called implicit memory. And it doesn't store moments, it stores patterns, responses, emotional associations, the deep, wordless knowledge of what feels safe and what doesn't, who can be trusted and who can't, what love feels like when it's consistent, and what it feels like when it isn't. Implicit memory doesn't need language. It doesn't need a developed hippocampus. It doesn't need a fully formed sense of self. It just needs experience, repeated experience, early experience. And you had years of it. Every time you were soothed, your nervous system learned something. Every time you were left to cry, your nervous system learned something. Every time comfort arrived consistently, or didn't, your nervous system was quietly building a model of how the world works. Those lessons didn't get stored as memories you can access. They got stored as the person you became. Your earliest years aren't lost. They're just living somewhere your conscious mind can't reach. And they've been quietly shaping you ever since. So let's make this personal, because this isn't just a fascinating piece of neuroscience. This isn't just an interesting fact to share at dinner. This is about you, right now, and the way you move through the world today. Think about the fears you carry that you can't fully explain, the situations that make you anxious for no clear reason, the kinds of people you're drawn to, and the kinds that make something in you pull back without knowing why. The way you respond when someone gets too close, the way you respond when someone pulls away. The relationships that feel safe, and the ones that feel threatening, even when they shouldn't. Where do you think those patterns came from? Some of them came from experiences you can remember, moments you can point to, events that left a mark you're aware of. But some of them, maybe more than you realize, came from those forgotten years. From the implicit memories your nervous system built before you had the language to understand what was happening, before you had a self to process it through, before any of it could be stored as something you could consciously examine and understand. The attachment style you carry into every relationship today, secure, anxious, avoidant, was largely shaped in the first 2 years of your life. The emotional responses that feel automatic, involuntary, almost irrational, many of them were wired in before you could remember. The version of love that feels normal to you was defined before you knew what love was. This is why those years matter. Not because you can remember them, because you can't, and they shaped you anyway. So here is what I want you to take from all of this. You were not absent during those years. You were not a blank slate. You were not an empty vessel waiting for real life to begin. You were a fully feeling, fully experiencing human being, responding to the world around you with everything you had. You felt warmth. You felt fear. You felt the specific quality of being held by someone who loved you, or the specific ache of needing comfort that didn't come. You experienced all of it. Your brain just didn't have the architecture yet to save it in a form you could carry forward. And here's the part that matters most. The love you received in those years, if it was there, became part of you in a way that goes deeper than memory. It became the feeling of safety your body still reaches for today. And the love that was missing, that became something too. Not as a memory, as a longing you may have spent years trying to understand. You were never absent. You were just too young to remember being there. Now that you understand why those years are missing, there's a question worth sitting with. Not a question with an easy answer. Not a question you need to solve right now, but a question that, if you let it, can quietly change the way you understand yourself. The question is this: which parts of you feel the most automatic? Not the choices you make consciously, not the values you've thought about and decided on deliberately, but the responses that arrive before you've had a chance to think. The emotions that spike before your rational mind has finished processing what just happened. The patterns that repeat in relationship after relationship, situation after situation, no matter how many times you tell yourself, this time will be different. Those automatic parts of you, where do you think they came from? Because here's what psychology keeps finding, in study after study, in therapy room after therapy room. The most automatic parts of a person are almost always the oldest parts. The parts that were formed earliest. The parts that were shaped before language, before memory, before a fully developed sense of self existed to question them. They don't feel like learned responses. They feel like personality. They feel like simply who you are, but they're not. They're conclusions, drawn by a very young nervous system in a very specific emotional environment, from the only evidence available at the time. And conclusions, even very old ones, can be examined. Not easily, not quickly, not without patience and honesty and a willingness to sit with uncomfortable things. But they can be examined. And the moment you start asking, where did this come from, and does it still apply? Something begins to shift, slowly, quietly, but it shifts. Your earliest years aren't a mystery anymore. They aren't lost. They aren't gone. They aren't a blank space in the story of who you are. They are the foundation. The part that was laid before you were conscious enough to watch it being built. The part that quietly became your nervous system, your patterns, your emotional instincts, everything that feels automatic and unexplainable, and deeply, unmistakably, yours. You just couldn't remember it being built. Now you know why. Before you go, I want to ask you something. What is your earliest memory? Not the one you think you should have. The real one, the fragment, the flash, the feeling without a face attached to it. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video explains something you've been quietly wondering about for years, You're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is UNFELT, a channel built for people who want to understand not just what they feel, but why. If that's you, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Because every week, we go deeper into the hidden psychology of who you are and why you became this way. There's more here that was made for you.